This is episode number 102 of Patrick Jones Baseball. On this episode, we have Josh Harrison and his brother Vince Harrison. I think everyone's going to really enjoy these, and it's going to be a little bit of a different type of episode because we're getting someone who is actually inside professional baseball in an organization as a player in Josh and as a coach in Vince. So I'm always really intrigued to talk to players who are in the big leagues and just kind of get a feel for what they think of all the data and analytics. And I think it's going to be interesting because Josh is someone who's been in the big leagues for several years now, so he's kind of seen it from both spectrums. And in the opposite case for Vince as a coach, who came up as a player and played and is now coaching and being able to use the data and analytics to help his players. This episode is brought to you by Blast Motion. Blast Motion is a bat sensor you put on the end of your bat. It tracks how long you're on playing with the pitch for, attack angle, time to contact, bat speed. It's the most efficient, cost-effective, and efficient tool that you can use to help your players improve their game on their own. So head on over to blastmotion.com and type in code PJB25 for $25 off. And here is Josh and Vince Harrison. All right, we are now live with Josh Harrison and Vince Harrison. Really appreciate you guys coming on today.
Thank you for having us, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. So, Vince, first question is kind of geared towards you. I remember Josh telling me in the past how you were actually the better player growing up. Someone who has dealt with injuries, like as is yourself, and now that you're coaching now, like how do you tell players who are going through maybe like the rehab process or just dealing with injuries to like get through it?
Well, the main thing we always try to talk about is make sure they maintain their routine. And, you know, a big thing that probably wasn't focused on when I was playing was just activating before they actually go out and do any activity. So one of the things that I've really harped on with my players is to make sure that before they jump into any cage routine, whether it's just early work or even going to get ground balls before the guys get there, is they have to go see the strength coach and the trainer to make sure that they are properly activated. So, you know, that's like one of the things that has turned out to be a really good thing because, you know, traditionally it's like if you got to be somewhere at 2:30, you show up 10 minutes early and you just kind of get there and ready, where now we're saying if you got something at 2:30, make sure you use those 10 minutes prior to work with the trainer or the strength coach. And so at 2:30, you're ready to jump in just as if it were the game. So it's just been one of my main focuses to try to help prevent injury, but also just kind of create a good habit and routine.
So when you were back playing, I know you got hurt for a couple of years and you actually went back to Princeton High School where you went and coached Josh. And did you ever think that he would become like a major league player when you were coaching him in high school?
Well, I think there was always that brother in me that looked outside of, you know, just him being my brother and, you know, being in the midst of playing and knowing the ability of players. And, you know, I thought I think his ceiling was untouched. You know, I think there was, you know, did I think he would be a big league all-star? I don't know. I don't know if anybody ever sees that. You know, usually when you think big league all-star off the jump, they fit the body type, you know, they check off all the boxes, where this guy was barely recruited. And my deal was just like, how's this guy not good enough to be seen in college? And so seeing him go, you know, through the grind, which when I was actually rehabbing, he can tell you that, you know, during spring break and like other times where most high school kids are just showing up to the field, we were getting the field early. We were working out. I was basically putting him through what I would have been doing had I not been injured. And, you know, he actually like accepted it and embraced it. So then I saw a different mindset in him, which I knew the physical ability was there, but I knew he would do well at the next level. And then I knew he would get a shot at, you know, playing pro ball. So to say I saw him being a big league all-star, I think that didn't happen until he actually got in the pro ball. And he can tell you the story about, it was 2014. He called me beginning of the year. He was in the big leagues, but he wasn't getting his ABs. And I'm like, dude, you got to the big leagues. And I said, you rather be in AAA playing or you want to be in the big leagues waiting for your opportunity? And he's like, I'd rather be in the big leagues. I said, well, listen, you just watched me rehab for 2 years, and all I've been waiting for is an opportunity. So I'm telling you to embrace your opportunity and start grinding out that AB. You're going to get a pinch hit AB, and it's the National League. And I said, dude, we'll laugh about this one day. And one day ended up being a couple months later in June. So,
Wow.
so I think to go back to high school to say I saw it, no, I saw the potential in a college guy with a chance to be a pro player. And then once he became a pro and, you know, the workload and the preparation and off-season training wasn't anything new to him, I knew he would excel. So to say I saw it kind of, but then I saw it happen more as he progressed. So
Sure. Yeah, that's an awesome story right there. Josh, when you were getting or I guess when you weren't getting recruited in high school, could you just kind of talk a little bit about that process? Just because we got a lot of, high school kids listening to this who, want to go play at a big time school and maybe they aren't getting recruited at all.
Oh yeah, man. I remember like it was yesterday. Senior year, everybody's getting excited. Last year, everybody's starting to figure out where they're going to school. Guys are already doing, the fall signing. I'm in the fall. I got no offers, no tour stalking. Go through, high school ball, and I'm playing May. We're a month away from graduating, and I'm still playing the way that I am, not really, hearing anything. Everybody kept asking where I was going to go. And my first thought was I was going to a JUCO. I probably would have ended up at Wabash in Illinois, but they were the only one really looking at me. And it wasn't because of my grades. I was on a roll student, but I was like, to play baseball, the only look I'm getting is at this one JUCO. And then as soon as we got to the playoffs, we beat Miami, Burke, and Moeller down at one shot. Next thing I know, floodgates kind of opened. UC, Indiana, NKU, all these schools started coming. And ironically, the day that I signed my letter of intent was the same day that I graduated high school.
Wow. Did you ever doubt yourself?
No, never doubted myself. For me, it was a matter of saying all I wanted was a chance. And if I had to go to Wabash or JUCO, that was going to be my one chance. And I was going to make the most of it. So, yeah, it can be frustrating at times, but all I could control was me going out and getting ready for whatever may arise.
Yeah, love that. Love that. Now, in this day and age, like in the game of baseball, like technology is really being, really emphasized a lot. And I think it's interesting to have both of you guys on who are in an organization, and it matters somewhat to what the outside people say, but it's really at the end of the day is, can you apply that to the actual game itself? So Vince, like when you are working with hitters, do you use actually technology to help guys, or is it just more of a feel thing?
no, the analytics has definitely become a big part of the game. We use a lot of data to try to figure out scouting reports for pitchers. A lot of the times with the hitters, when we use them, it's more about helping them understand what a guy's go-to pitch is, what his pitch he's most comfortable with. We use it that way. And then on the offensive side, we try to use those numbers to help them realize that maybe, where they're thinking I'm not hitting the ball well, we can tell them, you know what, you're averaging your exit velo on a certain pitch that you think, like, you remember as hitters, we always remember the results where, sometimes those results don't happen. You may line out and think I suck on an inside pitch when in reality you smoke that inside pitch more than you think. You've just made more outs. And so in the back of your mind, you think you're deficient on that pitch, and guys either get passive on it or get discouraged by it. And so we kind of use the numbers in a sense like that, where listen, you can get to that pitch. You do it often. You just haven't had, results. That doesn't mean you aren't good at that. With the way shifts are being played and, the way pitchers miss their spots, that doesn't mean get off that pitch. Just stay aggressive on it. We got to be careful because of now there's so much information out there, and guys are going to use what they want. And, guys have off-season hitting coaches versus just the coaches in season, which a lot of us grew up having. So the players are smarter now. They're way more involved in their careers. There's video. There's all kinds of academies and swing coaches and Twitter profiles that the guys can get information from. So what we try to do is help the guys understand which is going to work the best for them and try to match it up with the individual's ability and make them the best version of themselves.
Josh, same question for you. As a player, do you use any type of technology or information to help you?
That's a good question. Just to go along with what my brother says, the individual, I think, is the most important piece in this. It's fine to get numbers and data and all this information, but somebody needs to understand what that means to them and apply it to themselves. That's why I'm a blend. I'm like an old school player in a new school game, but I can play both because I trust my instincts and my eyes and my feel more than I would trust a number or a data. But on the flip side, my instincts and feel sometimes match up with those numbers. So a lot of it is, like my brother said, is taking that data to apply it to the individual and just not as a whole. Because there can be times you feel like on certain pitches or whatever, like, man, I'm not feeling good on this one. And they can go back and say, you know what you're feeling is correct. You are missing that pitch. Or, you know what, no, you're hammering that pitch. You're just not getting the result, as my brother would say. So I think you got to be careful in how it's applied, because I don't think it necessarily tells the full story, because baseball is still a game that is feel and instincts, and that's one thing that cannot be taught.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the game is going so far too tech, it's maybe probably going too far. I think it'll even out kind of in the middle. Josh, when you're not feeling good in the box, is there or maybe your mechanics are off, is there a certain couple of drills that you like to do to kind of get yourself back on track?
There used to be a few drills that I would do, like the short bat, top hand, bottom hand. But as I've progressed in my career, a lot of me knowing who I am and how my body works, I understand when I'm not in the right spot, when I'm going through a funk. A lot of times it's my setup. That's me personally. Like, we feel like, oh, man, my swing is this way. Your swing is the result of you being ready. And if you're ready on time and your swing is not on, then that's where you can do a mechanical change. But for me, a lot of it is feel. I know from the minute that I step in the box and I get in my batter's stand, if I'm in the right spot. You can feel where you're like, man, something's not right. Do I need to drop my hands? Do I need to pull them back? Am I too wide? Am I too narrow? Setup for me is a lot. And I can tell a lot of times I don't have to chase looking for a certain swing, because if I'm in the right spot athletically from the start, I'm going to get to where I want.
Do you tell I know some guys, they tell themselves, like, I don't know if you saw Albert Pujols the other day kind of say, like, he was thinking, like, he thinks kind of like more knob to the ball. Like, do you tell yourself anything like that?
I've had some hand injuries, being hit by 96-mile-an-hour pitches. So that's been one of my struggles, keeping my hands tight to me inside my body, because I've been hit a little bit, so my hands have been kind of playing devil's advocate. They've kind of been floating. But that's one thing that I've kind of worked on this offseason, actually been hitting with my brother, is just staying connected, staying tight, and pretty much, keeping that knob inside the ball. Because from there, I can deliver my barrel to where I want. But if my hands get away and my barrel and my knob's outside the ball, I'm trying to redirect my swing, trying to manipulate it. And the point is to get to point A to point B as quick as I can and to be as strong as I can. But like I said, this offseason, I've been, that's what I've been working on a lot, because I've had, some broken hands, just trying to get the feel back to them working together, because, coming back from that, you can compensate without knowing. And, change your grip, you change your swing, all of that. So that's a really good point, because, if you're inside the ball, you got a good chance of delivering your swing the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes 100% sense. Vince, are there certain drills that you like to do with your players during the season?
Kind of like what Josh was just saying is, one of the big things with the minor leaguers is trying to teach these guys to develop a routine. And so when they develop a routine, it gives them, it's some individualized where it focuses on the things that they need to work on instead of trying to make it, a cookie cutter deal. So everything that they do on a daily basis is kind of individualized as far as their routine to what they need to do to help give them their best opportunity to swing. So as far as a drill, it tends to be based on the individual's needs, trying to maximize their strengths with maybe trying to figure out why they're making outs or not driving the ball as often as possible. And then these guys are visual now, so we have an incredible video department. So a lot of the guys will do some video work and then notice something in their setup, or we'll watch and break down the swing, and then, we'll see something in the setup or the way their hands were compared to when they were hitting well. And so as far as drills, back in the day without video, it was kind of like, hey, let's go to this drill to help you get quicker, or let's go to this drill to help you use your lower half. Now we've got so many tools where, we get the guy in the video room and then we go to their routine. And then by the time they're actually taking BP, we've probably figured out, the best plan of attack, but it's not always just that one way.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. This is another question I got. Someone sent this in. Do you guys think batting practice, like, getting out there and just seeing, like, Josh, I guess this first one will be for you, is that kind of overrated in a sense where, hitting 35-mile-an-hour BP versus, and then like a couple hours later hitting 90?
For me personally, I don't want to say it's overrated, but sometimes I think BP can cause bad habits, but it is nice to see the ball travel. As you get to the big leagues, everywhere you go, BP is timed. Okay, we got 4 groups, got to get it done in 12 minutes. And sometimes I'll leave it at just, I'm doing my cage work today, I'm slowing it down. Because for me, I like to work at my own pace. So it goes to the individual. To somebody it's overrated, to somebody they need to see it. For me, I'm more of I'd rather just have my time and just feel what I want to feel. That way in the game, I just repeat everything that I've slowed down.
Gotcha. What about using machines on the field?
I like that in certain instances because machines, I don't really do them all the time, but sometimes it's good to see velo, especially when as you progress, you start to get pitched a certain way, and it's like you don't realize it, but you may be guessing on pitches and not realizing that you're hanging. So, like, say, for instance, my brother said, let's go to the video, man. You're in between fastball, off speed, and, set up the velo machine, say, get ready for a fastball, and you're ready, and you're whacking them, and then they'll tell you, hit some curveballs, and you'll immediately feel like, you know what, I have been trying to time this instead of being ready to hit. So sometimes the machine can just get you back to saying, you know what, get ready to hit, get my foot down, let me react, instead of trying to say, okay, I think a curve's coming, let me hang and time it, or a fastball's coming, let me hang and time it. That's when we're at our worst because you're not selling out to anything, you're in between.
Gotcha. Vince, for you, when you're working with some of the minor leaguers, do you ever have them like face some high velo before the game, like on a machine on the field?
Well, just kind of hitting on what you just asked him, the funny thing that you did ask about that is we, for the last couple of years, I've been with a couple of the same coaches. And what we basically did is we made machine on the field available every day. And then being in AA with some older guys last year, I think at the beginning of the year, we had 4 guys that had already played in the big leagues. And then throughout the year, we had a couple more that had already touched it. And so what we did is we put the machine out every day and made it an optional session just because guys need to see velo. Some days we would do a breaking ball machine, righty, lefty, mix it up. The point is we put it out there every day because, like we were saying before, is like, some guys, and I had a couple of guys that was just like, do I have to hit on the machine because I hate what it does to me? It throws off my time and it messes me up. And absolutely no. We want to make it optional. We want to make sure, though, that guys aren't getting comfortable hitting BP off of 45, 50 miles an hour and getting long swings. So when we put that velo machine out there, at worst case, it makes guys compete to get on time. May not give you the results, but, so it's something we've done with the staff I've been with the last 2 years. We've done it every day, not so much on the road, but definitely at home. But we also took our little portable machine on the road and, we get to some of those hot summer days in the Southern League last year. And we would make BP optional, but we would still do that optional machine on the field prior to our batting practice time. And then some guys would want to just get that optional time, and then some guys would actually want to hit BP. So as far as, that being, back in the day, it was 45 minutes, 3 coaches pitching, and that was it. And machines were only brought out for curveballs. Now we're using the machine to our advantage and saying, you know what, it may, and some days we'll do it with BP, but at least we're giving these guys the option to do it every day. And like Josh says, sometimes the hitters have to go off the field. If they don't feel good, then it doesn't matter what we're saying. So we're trying to help them find that feel. And the velo machine is kind of like the number one deal for, if you look at young hitters in pro ball, and most of them are just getting beat with fastballs, and it's not because they don't have the bat speed. So it's something in their setup, in their swing, in their timing, whatever it is, that stops them from being as successful as often as they want to be. So that's why we have gone to the velo machine and try to make it more available more often.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I want to add something on top of that too. One thing that me and Vince have also done too, kind of how we hit, that also helps with that, is shorten LDP. Like instead of being 35, 40 feet away, shorten up to like 20, 25 is virtually saying velo with an arm just from a shortened distance. And it's giving me velo, but it's not velo just because he's close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just things to do to quicken up your reaction time. So what I usually call it is, hey, we're going to do competitive short toss in the cages. So it's not just, hey, let me flip short. Let me show you overhand just so you can see the arm slot, but I'm throwing it just to make you feel comfortable. Now I'm throwing it a little bit harder, which is forcing the hitter to get on time, forcing him to start his load, get his foot down, whatever it is. But it's just quicker reaction time, which in reality is the difference between 95 and 100. It's like, it's just shorter reaction time, not always, that's harder to hit. So things you can do to stimulate those type of actions are always good.
Josh, this next one's for you. Pete Rose said that it was easier for him to hit in the big leagues because of the lighting versus the minor leagues. Is that a fact or fiction?
Hey, that's fact, man. When I went back to rehab this past year with my broken hand, I went back to my AA affiliate, Altoona, and I spent the 4 year there, and I remember playing there. We won the Eastern Championship. And I kid you not, the first thing I noticed my first rehab game, I was like, hey, it's so hard to see. If you can hit down here, you can hit in the big leagues.
Wow.
Some parts are better than others, too, as you can imagine.
Now, is the biggest difference between minor league pitching and big league pitching is just guys are more throwers in the minor leagues versus actual pitchers and can locate?
I don't want to say that completely because you still have a lot of throwers in the big leagues as well.
True.
I just think they are more consistent with being able to execute, stand with their strengths. A lot of times, as my brother has mentioned, sometimes in the minor leagues they can pitch off a cookie cutter type of whatever, and it's like sometimes you just got to go strength on strength. And I think that's the biggest difference is the confidence of guys going up there saying, you know what, if this is a game where we fail a lot, if I'm going to fail by going with my best pitch. I'm pretty sure that's what most pitchers think. So sometimes guys can get scared away from fastballs because in the big leagues, you got to be able to hit a fastball. But one thing about it is guys are just more aggressive, I would say.
Now, I know that you used to swing a 34, and then for a while you went down to a 33.75 inch bat. And I was wondering, is that because you're facing different pitchers, or is that just a feel thing?
It was kind of a feel thing, man. After I broke my hand, I was actually compensating, putting more strain on my top hand, so my bat didn't feel right. So I was like trying to find the right balance. So a lot of it was just me trying to compensate for my hand to where I felt I could whip the bat.
Gotcha. Last question for both you guys. Josh, who is the toughest pitcher you've ever faced?
There's some guys out there that are tough on the league that, I don't mind facing because, as I've mentioned, they're aggressive. So sometimes tough pitcher can be somebody that gives you a wrinkle. And honestly, one of the toughest guys for me when I first got up was this dude, Josh Harrison. He threw like 86 miles an hour, but had the funkiest pitch motion. He threw from behind his head because he grew up throwing axe. So a lot of times it's about somebody being deceptive, and to me, it took me a couple at bats until I got kind of adjusted to it. So I don't really want to say guys are tough because at the end of the day, if I'm in the right spot, I don't care who's out on the mound. I'm gonna get you.
Love it. Love the confidence. Vince, I know you're managing this year. You've been a hitting coach now for several years as well. Do you rather manage or be a hitting coach in the big leagues?
I think I would love to manage. I think I love all the opportunities to experience different aspects. I love the hitting stuff, and obviously that's always been a passion of mine. But, getting a chance to work with other guys, I think being a fourth coach before I was a hitting coach and then being a hitting coach for 4 different guys, I think you start to get a feel of, there's so many times during the games I would think, if I was the manager, what would I do here? And I got to experience that a little bit coaching Josh and him in high school where, the head coach basically said, you run the show. and I think there's something to it, but I think what I've also learned from being a hitting coach and a fourth coach is, I think some of the best managers add value to their staff and make those guys feel valuable. And so I think I've just been fortunate enough to work with different personalities and different people in the way they plan, where I think I have a strong suit of relating with people. And, it's always been a goal of mine to build up the people around me, just because I think if we can create a good atmosphere, then it makes everything better for everybody. And then you tend to get people to, reach heights that they probably never thought they could, or just go a little bit further than they would expect. So if I were to ever get the chance to coach in the big leagues, either one's going to be accepted, but I would ultimately love to be manager first.
Gotcha. I really appreciate both you guys coming on today.
Thanks for having us,
again, man.